Hi, how was your day? This is Sandy from Untame Your Soul and Unleash Unlimited. And I want to continue our conversation from yesterday. So I'll give it a couple of minutes here, maybe a couple seconds actually, to let people get on and get caught up because I know I just popped on here. Oh, hey, Tamara, thanks for joining. So, hey, Golden Hawk. I have a new activity for us tonight, but I do want to talk about the one from last night. So if you have, hey Stephanie, how are you? If you have that on hand, just get it out. Lindsay, thanks for joining. Okay, good, good, good. I'm hoping to see a couple people that were on last night. If they don't make it, no worries because this will be here and it'll be available. So, do you guys have your drawings from last night? Just give me a quick thumbs up if you do. Just a quick let's see, you had to draw yourself and your burdens. And that's really all the instructions I gave you. And you could use whatever you wanted to for it. So I wanted to give you a quick explanation of what that meant. So what I want to talk about today is our, let's see, how can I put this? Our limitations based on society and what is expected of us and what our limited beliefs have us confined in, like constricted in. Because some of us may have been raised in families where we weren't allowed to express ourselves. Or we were when we were children, but then when we grew up, there was no place for that kind of expression anymore. So we decided, oh, hey, Anne, how are you? Thanks for joining. We had talked about expression and voice and trying to find our voice. And I told you a little bit about my backstory. I'm going to put a whole About Me profile section up in our library of files. So you'll be able to read all about me. So you know who you're talking to and who you're working with. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to just ask them. You can message me, drop it on our conversation discussion board. That's fine. So what I would like to do is just start explaining about our little burden activity and our little sketch that we did yesterday. So I had you draw yourself first, and then I had you draw your burdens. And like I said before, I didn't give you much else to go with. If you drew yourself and you drew your burdens, like say next to you, were your burdens larger than you? Were they the same size as you? Or were they smaller than you? Because there's significance in that. I mean, we could go into a deep psychological discussion of why we draw what we draw. There's a whole arm of therapy that is nothing but, art therapy. But this is so much more than art therapy in here, you guys. This is something that is really going to get you in touch with your true selves. And this burden that you drew, it was it a mountain? Was it a big dark mass of just ugly scribble? What did it look like in relation to you? Were you a stick figure? Were you a flower? Were you just, a line? And were you the dark scribble? Were you the really dark? Yeah, okay. Thanks, Steph. Yeah, all were larger. And, usually when we're stressed with something, it appears that way. It feels that way to us. So if you drew yourself small and your burdens large, whatever that may have looked like, some of you may have even drawn your burdens on top of you or arching up over you. That's really, really meaningful, that you feel like you're being crushed under the weight of your burdens, like you have too much. What I want you to really look at, though, with those burdens, and only you can do this, I want you to list out what those are. Okay? So you could say, what? let's talk about burdens, work expectations, bills, um, you know, somebody's opinion, etc., etc. So I want you to list all of those out. You know, use your words, just one or two words, phrase of what all of those burdens are. And then next to them, and this is the really important part, I want you to write me, not me. For example, okay, if one of my burdens is my credit card bill, next to it I'm going to write me, because I'm the one who created that burden. I'm the one who's responsible for that burden, right? If one of the burdens is someone's opinion of me or not living up to someone's expectations, that's a not me. I'm going to write not me there because I am not in control of that. There's nothing I can do to be in control of that. So I'm going to release that burden. I'm going to let it go because I know no matter what I do, I'm not going to be in control of that burden. So however big your burdens are, and you don't have to do this right now. You know, this is an exercise you can do after our live's over. But I want you to list out your burdens and then write if they're really yours or not. You know, put a me next to the ones that you really can claim and that you actually can affect and that you actually have say in, okay? The ones that you cannot and do not have a say in, you cannot affect, there's no way that, you know, on this beautiful earth that you can change it, put not me, okay? And then I want you to see how much smaller your burden pile gets. All right. I want to move on to another activity, and I'm going to be talking a little bit through as you guys are sketching this out. And again, you know, you don't need to be a major artist. You don't even need to be an artist. All you need to do is just have a basic concept and something to write with and something to write on. So this next activity, it's called the tree. So, oh, thanks, Golden Hawk. It's called the tree. And what I want you to do, and I'm going to give you a 3-word instruction here. Once you have your pen and your paper, or your pencil, or your crayon, or whatever else it is you're sketching, I want you to draw a tree. That's it. 3 words. Draw a tree. That's all I want you to do. And as you're drawing your tree, I want you to just, you know, listen. I'm going to be talking. I'm going to give you about 8 to 10 minutes to draw your tree. And that's it. You just draw a tree while I talk. Okay, thumbs up if you're ready to go. Everybody have their stuff? Awesome. Beautiful. Okay, so when we're little, we have a lot of expectations put on us. When I was little, I'm the youngest girl in a family of 3 girls. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and my family was just very much, I don't know, hard workers. My mom graduated from college, but she was the first in the family to do so. And, you know, my dad was he was insurance and financial advisor eventually. But there was a pretty big age difference between my siblings and I. I have my oldest sister who is 16 years older than me, and then I had a middle sister who is 8 years older than me. And my oldest sister, you know, we never really got that whole sister relationship thing because she was moved out long before, you know, I actually can have memory of her being there. My middle sister and I were together all the time. And we didn't exactly have a good way to express ourselves. So she would express herself in a negative way on me. You know how they say that crap runs downhill? Yeah, well, guess what? I was downhill. We had a bedroom that we shared. We had 2 twin beds and 2 dressers and 1 closet, and we shared a room. And it's a very difficult thing when you are 8 years in between, especially when you are completely unalike. You know, we were totally different. So we were very limited in the ways we could express ourselves. Um, you know, it was a very traditional household. We had family dinners nightly. Um, you know, just normal. You know, we had a dog. My dad had a hunting cabin we would go to, you know, weekends. And oh, hi Tamika. Hi Megan. Oh, hey Holly. Let me just catch you up super quick. I'll get back to my story. For the people who just joined us, right now we're going over the burdens that we did yesterday. And I have a new assignment for you, and I wanted you to draw a tree. And that's it. Just draw a tree. And those are your only 3 word instructions. Draw a tree. And I'll explain that after you finish drawing your tree. As you're drawing your tree, I'm telling you a little bit about myself and about expectations. Growing up, that is. So for the rest of us, let's see, back to my house, you know, it was pretty normal. So both my parents worked. We went to public school, and my sister, you know, she was being 8 years older than me. She graduated and got a job, and she still lived at home. And she lived at home for quite a while after she graduated high school. And she would come home with all of these burdens on her, all of this weight of her normal work day, much like we do. You know, you kind of just grab onto it and you're not really sure how to release it. So she would release that on me verbally, sometimes physically, and it was not good, not okay. But I became very small, and I did not know how to express myself, and I let her treat me like that. And you know, knowing what I know now, it wasn't her fault. That was her way of expressing herself because she had never really been taught before. But there's a lot of different ways that our voices can be silenced. And art really helps us connect to them again. And it helps really bring out, you know, those little traumas that we experience, or big traumas, because if they're ours, they're always big. It doesn't matter what someone else thinks of them, you know, like I said in yesterday's video. So as you guys are drawing your trees, you know, that's it, draw a tree. And hi, Linda, how are you? Thanks for joining. We're drawing trees right now. So your instructions are draw a tree, and that's it. Okay. For those of you who started at the beginning, we have about 5 minutes left for our trees. They don't have to be anything phenomenal. You know, just sketch out a tree. And all right. So back to being silenced or being given the ability to express ourselves. It can even be something, it doesn't have to be like a sibling relationship or a familial relationship. It could be something that happened in school. There was a time where I felt my art get really small and my confidence around it get really small. I was in the 2nd grade and we were making Mother's Day presents for our art class. And we made this beautiful vase with flowers in it, and it was in this, you know, the big construction paper sheet, but we had folded the corners up so it looked like a frame, and we had everything perfectly designed in there. And, you know, I was a messy child, okay? No doubt about it. So I put my heart and soul into this piece that I was creating. And I didn't put my name on it. You know, I forgot. You know, I was so into actually designing it that I didn't put my name on it. But I knew without a doubt which one was mine because, you know, I worked my butt off on that because it was a present from my mom and she was going to get the best from me. So we had not finished in a day, obviously. So the next time it was art class, we had to get our things. And my name wasn't on it, so my teacher didn't pass it out to me. And then she said, "Oh, well, here, this doesn't have a name, whose is this?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's mine." Except another little girl claimed it as hers. Oh, it wasn't. It really wasn't hers, but she claimed it as hers. Um, and I'm so proud of this, and I'm so proud of what I did and poured my heart and soul into it. And, I'm sure the teacher knows it's mine. She saw me working on it. She has to know it's mine. So, yeah, she gave it to the other girl. I lost it. I just bawled. And, I think at that moment, the teacher knew she chose wrong, because it was not my normal messy self. It was my heart and soul on the page, and she gave it to someone else. So what she ended up doing was sending me home with everything. Hey, Jojo. She sent me home with everything in a bag that I could recreate this. And I remember working at home, but it never really turned out the same, because there was that shadow, that burden over me of not being believed that I was good enough to create that in the first place. And that was second grade. And things like that, it becomes cellular. It becomes part of us, and it gets stuck. And there's this, the chakra system. The chakra system is huge, but the 7 main chakra points, they each control various things in our lives, and that's a whole nother video. But stuff like that gets stuck, and yeah, exactly, clouded. So we need to figure out a way to release that. And if we're not taught how to release that, it sticks with us, and it manifests itself in, a ton of different ways. When we're out at, our job, or we're out with friends, maybe something triggers that in us, and we don't know that, that incident in second grade is being triggered, but our subconscious does. And then we react based on that trigger. So, we could talk more about that later, but right now I think it's time to get back to our tree. So just give me a quick shout out, comment if anybody is still working on their tree. Let me know. I'll give you a couple more minutes if you are. You were to draw a tree, and that was it. Okay. I want you guys to look at your tree. All right. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what your tree means. So I asked you in 3 simple words to draw a tree. And here's, what it tells me about you. Even though I'm not seeing your tree, you can decide for yourself. If you had a piece of paper, like printer paper, 8.5 by 11, and your tree was just in the bottom corner or less than half the page, you are probably frugal. You're probably very careful with your money and your time. Maybe you drew a tree that was as big as your paper. That would tell me that you're generous to a fault. That would also tell me that you tend to take on more than you should, or more than you can take on. Hey, I know, especially women, we always tend to shoulder everything, right? Take a look at your lines. Your line quality. Did you draw something firm and strong, like you were so sure of your tree, and you weren't erasing anything, and you just drew it very strong? Good. That indicates a positive, self-assured person. Maybe even a little aggressive. But what if your tree had light lines? That just means that you tend to be soft-spoken and gentle. If you had a few lines on your tree, let's look at the detail of it. If it was just the outline of a tree, sometimes maybe somebody drew a pine tree or a Christmas tree, and it could have just been like a triangle and a trunk. That's fine. That's still a tree. Okay. But if it was just a few lines, I would say that you like to work with overall concepts, the big picture, but that you're more of a person who would let other people be detailed about things, that you're more of the big picture kind of person. If you put lots of detail into your tree, like you drew the lines in the bark, that would be me. You like to immerse yourself in the details of anything that you do. Okay, I'm super detail oriented. And that also happens, that applies to you guys if you did not finish your tree because you were too busy adding all of those details. So, hey Dawn, how are you? I just saw you pop in. So let's talk more about value. Okay, look at your tree. Did you color it in? Did you shade it if you were, whatever you use, pen, pencil, marker, crayon, whatever. Is it shaded or darkened? If so, then I would say that, you're a serious person. If it was light and airy without shading, then I'd say you're pretty easygoing and carefree. If one part of your tree is shaded and, another part isn't, let's say you shaded the trunk in, okay? That would tell me that, stuff at home concerns you, that you're really worried about things that go on at home, or really super concerned or focused on things that go on at home. But, let's say you drew your tree and you maybe put roots. Like, how many of you guys put roots? If you put roots and you shaded them in, maybe, that's indicative of a troubled past. What about your treetop? If your treetop, however you shaded that in, if you did, that tells me you have concerns about your future. Couple more, if you had, hey Elisa, how are you? If you had a tree that was, tall, a super tall tree, I would say that, you have a big picture, you are, I don't want to say pie in the sky ideals, but, you think tall, you aim high, you inspire other people. If your tree has a pointed top, I'd say you're ambitious and you'd like to feel like you're always moving forward. If your tree was maybe bent, like it was blowing in the wind or something, I would say you tend to be restless, full of energy. You get caught up in the activity around you, so you feel pulled in the direction the activity is going. If your tree is like short and wide, I'd say you are a very stable, connected, satisfied with your life kind of person. If your tree is wide and short, like it's maybe as wide as it is tall, then I'd say you're really protective of those people who are around you. Like, that's your arms, and your arms are protecting, if your tree is wide, that's what that signifies. Let's look at the base of your tree. And the base of your tree, oh, hi Amy, how are you? If you drew the base of your tree with the ground, I didn't say anything but draw a tree. So if you drew the ground with your tree, I would say that you need security and planning in your life, to feel safe. If your tree was just floating in the air, nothing else surrounding it, because, that's you, then you're perfectly comfortable with, spontaneity, and you function well pretty much in any kind of situation. Let's see. If you drew like a line underneath your tree, just straight line or like a wavy line or something to represent the ground, the earth, you're happy, you're content, you're good. If you drew a tree on a hill, maybe you like attention, you want to be noticed. That puts prominence, focus on the tree. If you included roots, I talked about the roots before. If you included roots in your tree, the past is important to you. Okay, it has a strong influence on the way that you live, the way that you think. If you have graceful roots, like maybe curves, gentle curves, not tangled, not branching too many places, then that suggests a very warm feeling and a happy childhood. If you have a tree base that's open, there's no, let's say your ground line goes to your tree trunk, and then there's the tree trunk, and then your ground line continues, and there's just open space, no roots. I would say that you are the kind of person that draws strength from who you are today. That you've been through some stuff and you've climbed out on the other side, and you are stronger for it, and you know it, and you're very self-assured. If you drew a base line, like straight across underneath that trunk, and there's no roots, that tells me that you've cut yourself off from your past. Okay. And if you've done that, then that also tells me that there's some unresolved issues in your past that are probably still affecting your subconscious. So let's see. 2 more areas that I want to talk about. Well, 3 really, and then we'll be done with the tree analysis. Any questions so far? Okay, cool. I'm going to keep going then. Just pop in your questions when you have them. So we talked about the roots. Let's talk about the trunk of the tree. Okay, if you drew a trunk that was wide and sturdy, you're strong. You know, that indicates a lot of strength, and it tells me that you can stand up in adverse circumstances. You hold your own. If you drew a trunk that was slim and narrow, you know, something that may be blowing in the wind, that tells me that you're flexible. That tells me that you're adaptable. You know, you can roll with the punches. If your tree trunk is very straight, you know, no branches, no little knobbies anywhere, you are very well organized. You're a super organized person. If your trunk is clear and uncluttered, like let's say that you had a tree trunk and you drew it and you didn't put any kind of detail in it, then it's just, you know, tree trunk. That tells me that you're content with your home life. You know, if you drew a tree trunk that was kind of gnarled or twisted or shaded in, that tells me that you don't have a happy home life, or that you're unhappy with a situation at home. If you drew a knot hole, you know, like a little knot hole in the tree where there used to be a branch, you're a forgiving person. And if the knot hole is dark, you tend to be forgiving of others, especially of others' weaknesses. But you have a hard time forgiving yourself. Yeah, I know. Blows me away too. So that's it for the trunk. I'm going to move around to the top of the tree next. So the top of your tree, if you drew it as a fluffy cotton ball, you're a warm and gracious person. You know, you have a beautiful, content with life kind of philosophy, and people like being around you. You know, you're very comfortable to be around. If you drew just a simple round top, you know, no fluffs, just circle, I would say that you're more private and you like to keep to yourself. Let's say you drew a tree in winter and there's no leaves, just branches. I'd say you're honest. You know, how things are done are more important to you than the final result. So I'd say, you know, you're very ethical, you're very conscious of how you do something. Let's see, summer. Let's move to summer. If you drew a summer tree, it has a lot of swirls and curves suggesting leaves on it. I would say, you know, you care more about the end result and the methods that you use to accomplish the task. You know, as long as you get to where you want to be, who cares how you got there? If you drew a tree without branches and leaves, you know, some people just draw a tree trunk. That indicates actually something really nice about yourself. You're really well-rounded. You care both about the end result and the methods used to achieve it. Maybe you drew your tree straight up and the top of it is off the paper in your mind. If all of your branches are pointing up to the sky, like, you know, let's say you have the tree trunk, branches are pointing up, you're forward looking. You know, you're really interested in the future, not so much on the past. You don't dwell in the past. If your treetop has a lot of lines, you know, it indicates energy and movement and the fact that you like to keep busy. If the lines are tangled, you know, they cross each other a lot, that shows me that you might be confused about where your life is going. Sometimes you might feel like you're spinning your wheels, like you're stuck. If your treetop has leaves that are individually drawn. You know, like maybe you did a little branch and a couple little stems and a couple little leaves, but they're all individual leaves. I would say you tend to be methodical and like things well organized. If your tree looks cut off at the top, like let's say that, you know, you're drawing your tree, but there's still more of the tree that is up off of the paper, but some of the branches are there. I'd say that you're holding yourself back, that there's something that you're hiding about yourself, that you're afraid to reveal to people, especially people who are close to you. So that would be the top of the tree. One more part. How many of you guys drew extra things around the tree? I just said draw a tree. But how many of you, or did anyone, draw anything more than just the tree? Because it's okay. And of course that means something too. So I'm going to go ahead with that explanation for the people who may watch this video a little bit later in case they drew these things. So if you drew something other than the tree, any extra features, you're very aware of things going on around you. If you drew like fruit in your tree, let's say you drew an apple tree or a peach tree and you drew some fruit in there, you want your home to be a comfortable place. And maybe there's something missing and it's not as comfortable as you want it to be. If you grew or drew grass on the earth, you know, beside your tree or at the foot of your tree trunk, I would say that, you know, that's another, I want my home to be a comfortable place kind of thing. If you drew flowers anywhere near your tree, flowers means beauty is important to you. And you like to fill your home with beautiful things. Birds, animals, people, any of those things, if you put them in or near your tree, you're kind, warm-hearted, you like to be around people. If you put a sun in your picture, you know, maybe it's the quintessential corner sun from elementary school, or there was a sunshine in there somewhere, that means that you're a very optimistic person. You know, you look at the bright side of things. And clouds, if you threw a cloud in there, it indicates, you know, expectations of sorrow and disappointment. So maybe you had a sun, but you also had some clouds. You say you're optimistic, but you do expect some bad things to happen or some negative things to happen. If you put a swing in your tree, you know, like an old rope swing or a tire swing or something, it just means that, you know, you're a fun person. You find fun in life, in everything that you do. So this kind of gives you an idea of who you are as a person. And I'm going to post this, these explanations here when I'm done with this video. So I want you to go back and I want you to really look at your tree, look at all of the explanations of the various sections and parts of your tree, and really think about how that matches your real true personality. I think you might be really surprised as to how insightful a drawing can be. So I chose this activity for you guys just to show you how art can actually express what's deep inside of you, and how we can use art to heal ourselves. So if we can see something through a creative process that maybe we can't see just by talking to somebody about it, then we are that much closer to fixing that, to releasing that, or to embracing that, you know, whatever it is that is. So I do a lot more specific chakra-based, like pinpointed art activities with the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the solar plexus, etc., our crown chakra. And it's very specific to each of the pieces. So if that is something that interests you, it's a very healing journey, and as we work through it, you're going to become more open, you're going to become more aware, you're going to release blocks, and when you release blocks, then abundance starts to flow. And abundance can be anything. It can be monetary abundance. It can be happiness. It can be things that you want in your life. Anything. So that I know I didn't plan to be on for 35 minutes, but thank you for hanging with me here. And I really just wanted you to get a snapshot of you tonight and tell you a little bit about my chakra course that I have. And I'll talk a little bit more in detail about that another night because I know this went a little bit long. But I'm really interested in talking to you. So if you think that creativity and the expression of creativity can really help you figure out who you are and what you want to do and what you're meant to be, message me. We can chat. I'll be happy to talk to you about that. So I'll be back tomorrow with another fun art activity. So if you want, you can set some things aside, and I'll see you tomorrow. So much love and light to you guys. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, and I will see you here tomorrow evening, about the same time, between 7 and 7:30. Okay? Take care. Love you.